True dislike between NBA players is almost extinct in today's NBA. However, there are still situations in which players show real hatred towards each other. In a league where competition is king and the quest for a championship can be aggressive, it makes sense that players might let their emotions get the best of them. As much as I hate to admit it, these beefs are all just part of the game. That is until they escalate. For whatever reason, some conflicts get out of hand and cannot be controlled. No longer is this about the harsh realities of competition. No, it becomes much worse than that. This is about hate, and where there's hate, there's bound to be enemies. Throughout the history of the NBA, we've seen many examples of players becoming rivals. Today, I break down a list of 9 pairs of NBA players that hate each other. Welcome to NBA Insider. Before I begin this video, I would like to thank you guys so much for the support on this channel. I would also like to let you guys know that I am now both on Instagram and Twitter, so if you would like to keep up to date or send me some video ideas, feel free to follow me on both. I will leave a link to both social medias in the description box below. Also, if you're not already subscribed, why not join the team? Go ahead and click that subscribe button. I'm pretty sure you'll have a good time. With that being said, let's begin. Zach Randolph versus Kendrick Perkins. When the Memphis Grizzlies and the Oklahoma City Thunder used to square off, power forward Zach Randolph and center Kendrick Perkins tended to have a hatred for one another. Back in May 2011, G.O.A.T had roasted Kendrick Perkins in Game 1 of their Western Conference Semifinals playoff series. Perkins was heated by Zach's comments towards him, so much so that he refused to agree with his then teammate Kevin Durant when he stated that Randolph was the best power forward in the league. Randolph, on the other hand, didn't give a damn. He had told Fox Sports that Perkins is too slow to guard him and that all he could do was foul him. Funny thing is, in reality, Zach Randolph isn't that fast himself, so I'm surprised Perkins let that get to him. That's like a fat guy calling another fat guy fat, when in reality both of them are fat. Childish if you ask me. However, Perkins got the last laugh in that playoff series as the Thunder dispatched the Grizzlies in 7 games. During their games, there has been many reported incidents in which both would talk smack to one another on the court. In one incident, Perkins yelled across the court to Randolph, "I'll meet you by the bus," followed by Randolph yelling, "I'll beat your ass." None of this behavior was condoned, especially not by the referees. In one of their games, referee Ken Maurer decided he'd had enough of the tough guy back and forth and decided to give the two big men techs. After the two players were separated, Perkins ran off the court in front of the Thunder bench and into a hallway where he had another altercation with Randolph next to the Thunder locker room. The players were separated by Oklahoma City police officers. Z-Bo was eventually blamed and fined $25,000. This entire explanation pretty much sums up their so-called relationship. Kevin Durant versus Dwight Howard. Now, this isn't much of a beef, but it is an incident that has created sparks between KD and Dwight Howard. Kevin Durant is the kind of player who likes to let his game do the talking. But not even the calm and collected KD could stand by while center Dwight Howard showed just how soft of a player he really could be. Kevin Durant reportedly called Dwight Howard a during an Oklahoma City Thunder game against the Houston Rockets, and sadly, the beef did not end then and there. Either way, I can see why Durant thinks Howard is a and is soft. I mean, let's be honest here, the guy smiles way too much. And if there's one thing I learned in life, is to never trust 4 types of people. People who eat food like this.
What is that? What is that? What is that?
People who pour the milk before the cereal, and people that smile too much. No one can ever be that happy, can they? I also forgot to add people that dance like this.
Hold on, do it. Yeah. Oh my god.
That was legitness.
I mean, for real, some of these kids need to chill with the dances, especially the whip. Kevin Garnett versus Carmelo Anthony. There was a time when New York Knicks superstar Carmelo Anthony got so heated over a verbal fight he had with Boston Celtics star Kevin Garnett that after a game, Melo waited for KG at the Boston Celtics team bus. But what exactly did Garnett say to Anthony that the two almost fought? During a game between the Boston Celtics and the New York Knicks, Anthony and Garnett were battling for a lead in the 4th quarter. During this clash, they had separated after some harsh words were exchanged between the two. KG and Melo were each given technical fouls for their behavior. After the game, Anthony walked out of the Madison Square Garden before being found waiting for Garnett near the Celtics team bus. MSG security and police officers were called in to defuse the situation. It was initially reported that Melo was furious because KG said Lala, Carmelo Anthony's wife, tasted like Honey Nut Cheerios. When questioned by the media, the Knicks forward would only say, "There's just some things as men you don't say." In my opinion, that's definitely crossing the line. Insulting a player is one thing, bringing loved ones into it is a different matter. Despite his reasoning for his behavior, Anthony was suspended for 1 game, but I could definitely see where Anthony was coming from. However, many people believe that KG didn't say Lala tasted like Honey Nut Cheerios. Tape of the confrontation is inconclusive, and no other media outlet has reported that Garnett made the comment at Anthony's wife. The two attempted to patch things up after the game over the telephone, but apparently it didn't work out. Here's how the conversation went.
Hello?
Yo, Melo, what up, man?
What do you want?
I'm just just calling to talk about what I said
About your wife on the court earlier.
Man, it's all good, bro, man. Don't worry.
worry about it. You don't have to apologize.
Apologize? Who said I'm apologizing? I'm calling to say that she tastes like Fruit Loops, Lucky Charms, and Frosted Flakes. Man, you thought I was calling to apologize? What I look like to you, a punk?
Nah, I was just checking in to let you know that she comes with her own milk, so you ain't got to worry about dry cereal because Lala is in good hands. Hey man, wanna face me in 2K? Come online, let me give you a quick slap.
Okay.
Kobe Bryant
Versus.
Smush Parker.
Look at me, sure. Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
Just so I'm clear, it's not so much that Kobe Bryant dislikes Smush Parker, it's more from a basketball standpoint. Fortunately for Smush, he has no problem with this, and in case it wasn't obvious enough, he's not the biggest fan of number 24. Smush Parker has been out of the NBA since 2007-2008, yet he made an appearance on ESPN and answered a lot of questions about Bryant, his teammate from 2005 to 2007. When asked exactly how bad he treated him, Parker had this to say: "I tried to talk to him outside of basketball about football, and he looked at me in practice and was dead serious and said, 'You can't talk to me. You need more accolades under your belt before you come talk to me.'" If the story sounds the slightest bit extreme, just know that it's not the first time Parker has shared it. He was never a fan of Bryant's personality or how he treats people. Smush said, "What I don't like about him is the man that he is, his personality, how he treats people." Bryant was even less impressed with Parker as a player. I know Parker was trying to act tough for the media, but low-key, he was really feeling like this.
Why are you crying?
How could he not feel this way? One of the greatest basketball players of all time told him he is the worst player to ever play the game. But Kobe had many teammates he didn't respect. Parker just happened to top that list. Parker was the Lakers starting point guard in the post-Shaq years. During this period, Kobe wasn't close to winning a title, so he took out his anger on Parker. After Parker left, Kobe always dropped a comment about him and none were complimentary. Kobe once said that Smush was the worst and that he shouldn't have been in the NBA, but that the Lakers were too cheap to pay for a point guard, so they had to acquire him. Parker responded by saying he refused to pass Kobe the ball, that Kobe often separated himself from the team, and that Kobe refused to speak to Parker. It was a bad look for Kobe, making him look selfish on and off the court. According to fans and NBA analysts, the reason why Kobe hated Parker so much was because he wasn't efficient and didn't make good decisions on the court, and to Kobe, it was no joke. Basketball was more than a sport to him. It was a passion. However, in the end, it seems like the two eventually ended their disputes. Charles Oakley
Versus.
Charles Barkley. Charles Oakley was never afraid of a little contact during his 19-year NBA career, so you can't call it a huge surprise to see him taking swings at Charles Barkley on Twitter. In case you don't remember, Oakley and Barkley got into a fight during a preseason game in 1996, so there is a little history here. Charles Oakley and Charles Barkley were two hot-headed NBA enemies who consistently jabbed at each other and had no issues with treating each other's meetings like it was a wrestling match. Nowadays, Oakley uses social media to voice his dislike for Barkley. On the other hand, Sir Charles doesn't have an opinion on the oak tree because in his own words, he's not important enough for me to think about. At least these guys are now using words to deal with the bad blood between them. The alternative could be a lot worse. Gilbert Arenas
Versus.
Javaris Crittenton. Former Washington Wizard teammates Gilbert Arenas and Javaris Crittenton took things to the extreme when an argument over a gambling debt escalated to the point where each was making threats about what they do to each other at the next practice. More specifically, each acknowledged that they play with guns. Let's just say that this incident is a perfect example of what can happen when things are taken too far. It was one of the most unbelievable, mind-boggling sports stories of the 21st century, yet years later it's been forgotten. It was a gun showdown between Gilbert Arenas and Javaris Crittenton that left both suspended for the rest of the 2009-2010 season and essentially ended what had been a promising basketball season in Washington. The initial beef was all over $1,100. I know you guys are thinking,
Why?
for players making millions, that seems pretty petty to me. Anyways, after finishing a game and landing in Washington, both players went their separate ways, but not before exchanging some shocking words. "I play with guns," said Arenas. "I play with guns too," said Javaris. What was crazy was that neither was lying. They really did play with guns. And if you're confused as to what they meant by saying this to one another, it was to show that they weren't afraid to take their beef to the next level, even if it meant someone losing a life. There was another incident in which Gilbert Arenas was in front of his two locker stalls, the ones previously used by Michael Jordan, with 4 guns on display. Javaris was standing in front of his own stall, his back to Gilbert. Gilbert told Javaris to pick one while pointing to the weapon. He said, "I'm going to shoot your with one of these. Oh no, you don't need to shoot me with one of those, said Javaris while slowly turning around. I've got one right here. He pulled out his own gun already loaded, cocked it, and pointed at Gilbert. Other players who had been casually arriving, laughing, and joking with each other came to a sudden stop with the look of fear on their faces. It took them only a few seconds to realize this was for real, an actual shootout. They all looked at each other and then they ran. The last man out locked the door behind him. I'm pretty sure Russell Westbrook was there shooting around that day too.
Oh, hell no!
I'm joking. Russell Westbrook wasn't there, but Caron Butler was. Butler had talked calmly to Javaris, reminding him that his entire career, not to mention his life, would be over if he pulled the trigger. Javaris slowly lowered the gun. Somebody outside the locker room called 911. Flip Saunders was a coach back then, but he was too scared to even come into the locker room. Gilbert may have played with guns, but he was no gangster. Javaris was. The former Georgia Tech star, who was 21 at the time of the incident, never played again in the NBA. What's even more sad is that he is now serving a 23-year prison sentence for a gang-related shooting gone wrong. During the shooting, he missed his target and shot a mother of 4, instantly killing her. Just like I said before, sometimes these altercations get way out of hand. Tony Parker
Versus
Brent Barry. Tony Parker and Brent Barry may have enjoyed celebrating the 2007 NBA title together, but that is a far cry from what their relationship turned into. In 2010, Eva Longoria, Tony Parker's wife at the time, reportedly discovered hundreds of texts between the Spurs point guard and Erin Barry, the now ex-wife of former teammate Brent Barry. Longoria claimed that Parker's betrayal extended far beyond getting it in with other players' wives and had a tattoo of her wedding date removed from her wrist. While Parker denied ever having a physical affair, the same could not be said about the inappropriate sexting relationship he had with Erin Barry. This scandal resulted in the divorce of Parker and Eva Longoria, the end of Barry's marriage, and plenty of fractured relationships. So I guess it makes sense for why Tony Parker and Brent Barry's relationship fell lower than my math marks in middle school. The guy was basically fondling with his teammate's wife while they were playing together. I guess you could say he got a chance to play some minutes with Barry's wife as well.
My nigga.
Michael Jordan
versus
Isaiah Thomas. Next up, we have Michael Jordan and Isaiah Thomas. These two were the fiercest competitors in the NBA. Not only were they locked in the same conference, but the same division, meaning they were guaranteed to meet at least a dozen times including playoffs. So that is a great reason to have friction between the two. Also, Jordan slowly but surely began to form into the player who would eventually steal the NBA spotlight, which meant Isaiah's place as one of the better players in the league was being challenged. But Isaiah obviously found out that messing around with MJ in any sort of way would result in some harsh punishments. You know who was nowhere to be found on the Dream Team in 1992 Olympics? Isaiah Thomas. You might ask, how? Just ask his airness. As Jordan reminded all during his Hall of Fame speech, he never forgets anyone who disrespects him, ever. While Thomas denied ever doing so, it was always suspected that the former Pistons guard arranged a freeze out of MJ during his first ever All-Star game appearance in 1985. So I guess MJ had some reasoning behind his problems with Isaiah. MJ even admitted in assisting with blackmailing the Pistons floor general from the squad while admitting to hating him at the same time. These two couldn't even put aside their differences for an exhibition game or to represent their country. That's some pretty intense hatred if you ask me. Isaiah was clearly the loser here, and unlike the dispute he had with Magic Johnson, there's almost no chance of winning against Jordan. At least Isaiah can say he ran a better team than Jordan, or can he?
LeBron James
versus
DeShaun Stevenson. According to my research, I believe this beef began in 2008 and ended when DeShaun Stevenson rubbed salt in LeBron James' wound at the 2011 NBA Finals. They were on different teams when the Cavs and Wizards met in the playoffs 6 years ago. LeBron was a rising superstar and Stevenson, an aggressive role player who could shoot 3-pointers. The short version of what happened goes like this. It began during LeBron's first time with the Cavaliers. The two were preparing to battle it out on the court. While the talent level was tilting in LeBron's favor, Stevenson used his most advanced trash-talking abilities. During a series in which James Cavaliers beat Stevenson's Wizards 4-2, he provoked King James, calling him overrated while speaking to reporters. LeBron responded by comparing his comments to Soulja Boy calling out Jay-Z. At first, this was a small matter. However, the trash talking, physical play, and involvement of Jay-Z transformed it into a very entertaining beef. Jay-Z even ended up releasing a Stevenson diss track. Listen to this little clip of that diss.
Ask my nigga LeBron, it's so big we ain't gotta respond. When you talking to a Don, please have respect like you talking to your mom. We let the money do the talking. As you see, we be talking rather often.
Anyway, Stevenson had a solid run in the finals. Stevenson was suddenly Jay-Z and LeBron was, well, Vanilla Ice. After a while, the beef returned during LeBron's Miami phase. The two clashed in the 2011 NBA Finals against Stevenson's Mavericks. The rest, as they say, is history. James was consistently frustrated by the Dallas zone and played poorly for most of the series, eventually culminating with the Heat losing the finals 4-2, giving the Mavs guard a title before LeBron. Stevenson celebrated the championship with a How My Dirk Taste t-shirt. Stevenson has proven himself to be a major pest to LBJ over the years. However, James has appeared to win this battle after Stevenson was exposed begging LeBron to get him a job with the Heat in 2013. And just like his championship this year, LeBron walked away with a win. And that concludes the video. In case I have missed any players in this episode, please forgive me as there's only so much I could do. Also, how does the audio sound? Hopefully it's much better. Please let me know how it sounds in the comments. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content like this, feel free to show some love by leaving a like and subscribing. Also, if you have any thoughts and or recommendations for future videos, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. Until next time, this has been another segment of NBA Insider. Thanks for watching.